It's Jason. It's geez, I think it's January 17th. You can see it's a snowy day here in southeast Ohio, and I'm getting ready to do some switchgrass seeding. So I wanted to come out and talk about not only the seeding that I'm doing, but what my overall habitat management strategy is for where I'm putting it and why I'm putting it in the particular areas that I'm doing. The plan here is not to create a field of switchgrass, but to create some screens, and there may be a couple areas in here where I thicken it up enough that it could be bedding, but primarily looking at screens. If you look behind me, you can see I've got a ladder stand, and the area I'm standing in is a first year clover field. I guess I planted it this last year, and my goal is to hit this with lime, bring it up to where the soil tests say it should be, and really develop this area into kind of a secluded little pocket that the deer can come out of the trees, feel pretty protected. But if I'm up there in the stand, probably 45 yards out from the stand, I've planted some trees, and I've got a mixture of elderberry, dogwood, and I'll probably mix in a few others in there. There's some area down here along the edge. Once I clean up the autumn olive, I plan on putting in some red osier dogwood that does well in some wet soil. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's definitely a wetter area down here. But the real key for me is from this stand, I can look up the hill and I can see 3 to 4 acres of open field. And this is area that was full of invasive Sericea lespedeza that we've gotten under control or dramatically reduced the amount that's here. So the field is wide open at this point. What I want to avoid is here on my right is where the deer are coming out of the woods and out of the thick stuff. What I don't want is that old buck standing there in the thicket, looking out at the field, being able to scope out what's in the field and turn around and go right back into the thicket. I want him to come out, see this little pocket, have to cross this pocket, and then pass through a switchgrass screen to check the next field, and keep doing that as he goes up through the field. So my strategy here, clover, small strip of trees. On the other side of the trees there'll be a little bit of clover, then a long stretch of switchgrass, some clover, and another strip of trees. On the other side of that we'll do some more switchgrass. Above that is pollinators, and above that there'll be some more switchgrass. So several things mixed in there. I've got the clover in around the trees and given myself enough of a buffer between the switchgrass and the trees that if I ever need to burn switchgrass, I've got a good green barrier there to protect my trees so that I'm not burning down into my trees potentially. So that's the direction I'm headed with this. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go up here, I'm going to mark the area off into some strips. I actually brought some red driveway markers or orange driveway markers that I'll mark my area with. I want to be able to measure it with the measuring wheel and get a good sense for how big of an area that I'm seeding. I've asked for advice from a number of you, and the recommended seeding rate for something that you want thick enough that it will be a screen but not create great bedding is 8 to 10 pounds per acre. Because I'm not measuring out an acre and I'm doing strips, I want to make sure I get this thick enough. So we'll measure out an area, we'll do the math on how much of an acre that strip is, figure it out with the pounds of seed, and we'll seed that area, move on to the next. So that's where I'm headed next, is to do those measurements and mark off that area. All right, I'm going to start off with the measuring wheel. I don't know how many of you have these, but we use this thing all the time. It's great for figuring out just exactly how big your field is and figuring out, making sure you're seeding at the right rates. So it's pretty simple to put together. It actually, there we go. Once you line up the arrows, it goes together real easy. You reset it and it's ready to go. So I use this all the time for measuring the size of my field. Sometimes we'll use the rangefinder if there's 2 of us, but for one guy with the side-by-side, I can put this out the side. I can measure pretty good sized field by myself and get a real sense for how big it is. So I've got the measuring wheel, and I use these driveway stakes that I mentioned before. All right, let me go get this measured and marked. I'll be back to tell you a little bit about why I'm doing it this way. Okay, so I've got the area marked off, and the reason that I decided to mark the field, and I wanted to get it marked well with stakes, is the preparation and how I plan on caring for this area over the next year and a half. So the approach that I'm taking to this, obviously we're doing a frost seed. So this area has been hit with glyphosate multiple times over the last couple years, and it was hit in the fall to kill everything back in the fall. So when you look around, if you watch, Jeff Sturgis will talk, and he says, you know, if you've killed off about 80% of what's there, you're in pretty good shape. When you look at what we got here, we're in pretty good shape. Each section up the hill has been sprayed with glyphosate. So the plan is we're going to hit it with some seed now. Late March, early April, I'll hit it with simazine. That's a pre-emergent herbicide that will knock back a lot of things before they ever come out of the ground. So as a pre-emergent, it kills things before they grow. The switchgrass won't actually germinate until ground temperatures are above about 56 degrees. So we've got a little while from the time the simazine is put on the ground to when the switchgrass is going to germinate. During that time, with our April green up, there's another opportunity to hit this with glyphosate. So one of the things I'll have to do is keep track of soil temperatures to make sure that we're not getting above 56 to where my switchgrass is germinating, and then I would kill it with glyphosate. So there's a little window there where weeds and things are greening up, the switchgrass has not germinated, and it's safe to hit glyphosate. So that's going to be my approach. That's good. Okay, so I got all my measurements done. I've done the math. This particular area, this strip, is going to be about 6/10 of an acre. So at, you know, I didn't do all my math. At 6/10 of an acre, say 10 pounds, we're going to go with 6 pounds, assume 10 pounds per acre. We're going to do 6 pounds of seed into this area. So I've got a kitchen scale with me. The only reason I'm trying to be so precise, this is the first time I've planted switchgrass, so I don't want to end up in a situation where I felt like I put down enough seed and I didn't. So I want to make sure that I'm starting off with at least the right amount of seed. So we'll dip some up here. So we'll put, no, each cup is about 10 ounces. So we got a ways to go here. All right, a nice full cup gets me to 14 ounces. So we'll do 11 or 12 of those, and we'll say it's pretty good. I've got the Earthway spreader. This is the bag spreader that I like. You know, you can use various spreaders depending on what your preference is. We've actually got a video where we compare some of these. Josh likes the Solo. We've used a cheaper one in the past that is covered in that video. That you can check that out as well. quickly did my math there, and I was thinking 10 pounds per acre. Didn't convert. I'm going to do about 7 cups in here, and I'm actually only going to put about half of it in, because one of the things that I hate to do is when I set up the spreader, I get out there and about halfway through I've used all my seed. So I've got, I think, 3 cups in there. We'll do that. We'll see how far that goes, and I can always go over the field a second time, but that'll make sure that I get good coverage. So we'll zip it up and go get some seed out. Okay, so that first I had about 3 pounds of seed. I've yet to mention that what I'm planting is cave and rock. So it's been recommended by a number of people for the Midwest, so we're going to give it a try. I also have a couple other varieties. I've got some Forestburg and some Blackwell. I'm going to mix those in some of the other sections, but what I wanted to do here was have a pure stand of cave and rock just to see how it does. So I'll mix that in elsewhere. The other stuff came with some native warm season grasses we bought from Pheasants Forever. So my plan now, I've added another about 3.5 pounds to the bag. I'm going to open up the spreader a little further to spread this seed. I'm going to hit the whole thing. I feel like I got the whole thing covered well with the first time. I got a couple passes on the field. So we'll open it up, we'll put it on thick, and we'll end up with that ratio of about 10 pounds per acre. So I'm pretty excited about it. We'll get this on the ground, and phase 2 of this video will be when I come back and do simazine and do that first treatment in the early spring, late winter. So keep an eye out for that. If this was helpful to you, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe, hit that bell so that you get notified when phase 2 of the project comes out. And as we like to say, and as you can see with it snowing here, outdoors is always in season. We're going to find a reason to be outside. Thanks. Have a great day.